Welcome back to another episode of Inner Peace, Better Health. I'm your host, Eric, and today we have an extraordinary guest with us. Joining us is Elizabeth Cush, also known as Biz, a licensed clinical professional counselor, women's life coach, and the inspiring host of the Awaken Your Wise Women podcast. Biz has dedicated her career to helping midlife women embrace and embody their inner wise women, finding joy and fulfillment in the beautiful lives they have created. Bez, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. We are diving into this fantastic topic, growing and cultivating your intuition. And I really want to welcome you on behalf of my team and our listeners. You are so welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to jump into our conversation.
Perfect, perfect. So, Bez, can you share a moment when you first realized the importance of intuition in your own life?
Mm. Well, I think for a very long time, I was very cut off from my intuitive sense, my intuition.
Yeah,
I think part of that was just growing up in a house where we really didn't talk about things like that or
yeah,
even really talk about feelings.
yeah,
But I think as I entered into parenthood and having my own children, I think I began to rely more on my intuition in terms of like what my kids needed and how I needed to be as a parent. Yeah.
yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. And and how did that realization change the way you approach your personal and professional decisions?
I think it taught me the value of really listening to myself.
Yeah,
Um, I think that, you know, it hasn't always been seamless, but I learned to trust that I knew what I needed, but also knew what others needed in my life. Like I knew how to take care of my children. And it also helped me then um, create a business that really was a good fit for me. So knowing that, I own my own business. I work for myself. I've created the business and been doing this now for almost 10, 15 years. And so it just helped me really trust that my intuition of learning to listen to myself really helped me
yeah,
know the path that I needed to take, that it was easier, it was better for me to be my own boss versus work for somebody else that was going to tell me how
yeah.
many hours I had to work or how many clients I had to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's such an interesting approach. Telling you like this approach that you have to be your own boss and you have to be accountable to yourself gives you so much
Mhm.
freedom and gives you so much of liberty in that sense that you don't have to be accountable to anyone else, but you have to be accountable to yourself. And I believe that it helps you so much with your personal growth, and it's really amazing to start that kind of a venture. And it's really
Yeah.
amazing how a single moment of clarity can shift our entire perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, and and being your own boss absolutely is liberating and wonderful and the way I needed to go, but it's also stressful and hard and knowing that you're ultimately the only person that's making decisions for your business, it's a lot sometimes, but it's been the right thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Elizabeth, what are some common misconceptions about intuition that you encounter in your work?
Well, I think sometimes people when they hear the word intuition, they think, this is like pseudoscience or not real, or that we shouldn't really trust ourselves because maybe we'll be too impulsive or impetuous. But, like, to me, intuition really is just a like deeper inner knowing that you really are your best resource, that
Yeah.
you yourself have the answers within. and
Yeah.
it and it doesn't mean you're never going to make a mistake, or you're never going to um, potentially choose the wrong thing, but but it allows you to, when you listen and tune into your intuition, it just builds trust in your own system, like in yourself. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, how do you help your clients overcome these misconceptions?
Well, I think I help them, pause, really listen to themselves. I give them opportunity to like take a moment and reflect inward. Like, what are you hearing? What is it that's, if you are coming up on a decision and, around your health or your well being, like, take a minute, and we'll do this in session. Take a minute to reflect back into yourself. Like, what is it? What comes to mind first? And like, all right, if that's the, if say, in fact, I was working with a client this morning, and it was just making a choice around their medical health, or caring for themselves physically. And so we just paused for a moment, and th- they had the answer. Like, they knew what they needed to do, but I'm not sure they trusted that that was good enough. And I just said, let's just sit with this and let's see what comes up for you. And they were like, "Yep, I need to just postpone this and do this another time." And it was the right decision for them.
Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's interesting
Hmm.
how misconceptions can cloud our judgment, and breaking
Yes.
through those barriers can be incredibly liberating. So,
Yes.
wow. And can you also explain, because personally, even for me, for a long, long time, I misunderstood fear as my intuition. But can you
Mm,
also explain the difference between intuition and fear, and how can we distinguish between the two?
yeah, that is a great question. So fear to me means um, we're making decisions like based on like our emotional or our physical safety.
Mm,
And if we're making decisions based on fear, it might not be like, if I'm just trying to think of an example. Like, if the fear is that, like, I don't know that I can control an outcome, so I'm going to make this decision because that's the best way I feel like I can control it. That's not really intuition. That's just trying to manage and control your environment, right?
yeah.
But if you're basing it on intuition, you're really like allowing, well, you're pausing, you're giving yourself a moment to sort of sit with um, what feels right for you, or what is the right path for you. It may not always be clear, but oftentimes we have an inkling, like if we just if we can give ourselves the space to listen versus react. And I think fear is often reaction versus response. So
Mm,
yeah.
wow. That's really amazing, because I have so many times I have understood my fear as my intuition, and I think I have missed out on the best of opportunities, on the best of events, and on the best of the
Mm,
things that I could have ever experienced in those moments. So
mm,
distinguishing between intuition and fear is, I can attest, is really crucial. And it's something
yeah.
many of us struggle with, but learning to trust that inner voice can lead to profound insights. And
Mm,
thank you so much for sharing that. And
sure, sure.
I mean, how does intuition play a role in your work as a life coach and therapist? How would you say that?
Well, it's helped me learn that often I can, even though most of my work is virtual, I'm
Mm-hmm.
often picking up on the energetic presence of the other person. Like if
Yeah.
they're really feeling afraid or totally stressed out or feeling really good about something. And so it's helped me trust that knowing that I have about their emotional state or their physical state, like it helps me name it in the moment to say, okay, this is what's coming up for me. This is the energy that I'm feeling from you. That let me know if that's right. And by trusting that what I'm feeling is often what's happening for them too, that I'm experiencing it with them because of our connection. Um, it
Uh,
just really helps me be a better coach, a better therapist because I feel as if they know that I am there listening and
mm,
being very present with them in the moment.
yeah, that's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And can you
Hmm.
share your example of how you have used your intuition to guide a client through a challenging situation? I mean,
Mm.
heard, we just now heard how you catch up on their feelings, you catch up on their energy. But can you also
Hmm.
share an instance with us in which you used your intuition to help your client in a challenging situation?
Mm. Um, I recently worked with a client who was feeling very stuck in life and depressed about how they were managing. Like there were things building up in their life that they weren't doing, like, cleaning their house, making appointments with service contractors to get things repaired, that instead they were choosing to just disconnect, watch TV. And this was really overwhelming them, but also they just felt so stuck.
Mm,
And so in my, what my intuition was telling me was that this client felt as if they couldn't ask for help, not necessarily from me, but from the people in their life. That they were feeling like they had to do this alone, they had to figure this out alone. And the idea of that was so overwhelming. And the fact that they were choosing to do nothing was then turning into shame, like they were feeling bad about themselves. And so
uh,
so I just named it. I just said, "Hey, it really sounds like what I said was it sounds like you need help. It sounds like you need, somebody else to kind of work with you on this." And so we explored who was in their life, what she could ask for, but also more importantly, what came up for them around asking for help. Like, what were the parts of them that shut down even the idea of reaching out to others to help them through this? And it turned out there was a lot of shame, a lot of a sense of feeling weak in the moment if needing help. And so we kind of worked through that. But so to me, that was really trusting that I knew or had a sense for what the blockage was. Like what was it that was keeping them stuck? And it was just this idea of like I'm on my own here and there's nobody out there to help me.
yeah, wow, that's that's honestly so beautiful.
Mm.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, using intuition in a professional setting adds a unique dimension to your work. It's fascinating to hear how it can lead to breakthroughs for your clients. So, thank you so
Mm.
much. And
Oh, sure.
Elizabeth, finally, what advice would you give to someone who is just beginning their journey of cultivating their intuition? What are the
Well, to
steps,
me,
I would ask, what are the steps that they can take to cultivate their intuition?
yeah, yeah. Well, um, I think one of the most important steps is creating time and space to just be with yourself, whether it's through meditation or mindfulness or being in nature, but creating time and space to really um, be able to start that attunement, right? To start the process of turning inward and listening. We tend to be so busy and goal oriented, especially here in the United States, that
Yeah.
the the um, the idea of taking time to better understand yourself isn't always valued. But I think, for me, meditation has really been the key to creating that openness to hear the intuition and to
Yeah.
trust myself.
Yeah. Wow. Starting this journey can be daunting, and I really understand that. But it's also
Hmm.
incredibly empowering. And
Yeah.
your insights today have been truly enlightening, Bez. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Uh, Thank you so much, Biz, for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us today. It's been an enlightening conversation, and I'm sure our listeners have gained valuable insights into the power of growling and cultivating their intuition. And to all our listeners, remember that you have the power to connect with your inner wisdom and create a life filled with inner peace and joy. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Until next time, keep listening to your inner voice and embracing the journey towards better health and inner peace. Take care.